This guy is 23. He's already stacked half a Bitcoin.
Probably in the past 2 or 3 years of saving a significant portion of what I'm making. More see it like as the best way to save money.
Our different fiat currencies and their buying power over the decades and how it's just diminishing it more and more.
Felt like everyone was being robbed a little bit. For me, that answer was Bitcoin. The way Bitcoin gets its value is from scarcity, using actual energy.
Whatever you're doing, we got to share it with other people so they can wake up.
I did have to sacrifice a lot of my salary in cash. I've been driving the same car since I was 17 and it's like falling apart.
You have to sacrifice something in order to do these things.
Following through with the promises that I made myself in previous years. It's very fulfilling.
If you think it's too late to stack significant amounts of Bitcoin, well then, I think you're wrong. In this video, I talked to Sam, who is only 23 years old, and yet he's managed to stack 0.5. That's half a Bitcoin already. And I really want to chat with him because I think his story is a big inspiration for people who maybe are out there in the same boat. You want to accumulate Bitcoin, you're not sure if you can, if it's too late. Well, if that's you, then I highly recommend you watch this video and listen to Sam's story. Let's jump into it. And here I am with Sam. So first off, half a Bitcoin stacked at 23. Congratulations. How does it feel?
Thanks very much. Yeah, it was a really big milestone for me. And yeah, I got a lot of support online for telling my story. And yeah, I appreciate just getting able to come on here and talk about it as well.
Yeah, I was, the way I found out about this is, you posted when you kind of hit the milestone on X and, it went viral, has several thousand likes and retweets and comments and everything like that. So I saw that and I was like, oh, man, this guy is 23. He's already stacked half a Bitcoin. This is, something that most people twice his age, aren't able to do or whatever. So I thought this was super, super cool. And I just want to chat with you and kind of get into the nuts and bolts of why and how and all that stuff. So let's start with maybe how long did it take you to go from zero to half a Bitcoin?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I should probably tell my story about when I initially got into Bitcoin. I think kind of allows, because I've only been buying for a couple of years, but I've known about Bitcoin since around the time of the COVID crash. So yeah, I was young. I was 17 at that time. And basically we weren't going to school because of all the lockdowns and stuff like that. But I managed to get a job. I passed my driving test. I managed to get a job delivering Chinese food, which was pretty cool because all the streets were empty and everything. And I was giving food to everyone. It was pretty cool just talk to people about what was going on in the world and stuff. But yes, it was about then that I bumped into Bitcoin and started to learn about it. So during my Chinese delivery shifts, I would listen to different Bitcoin books like the Bitcoin Standard. And I started to learn about the history of money and stuff like that, which was, I was obviously young. So I just kind of took what was told to me about what money was. But after seeing, it's just all my family members who are older than me, everyone's complaining about money. I feel like everyone for the past, all of my childhood has been complaining about money. That's the kind of space I've been in. So I guess that's why I was interested in it and started to learn about it. So yes, unfortunately around that time when I was learning about the Bitcoin Standard and listening to all these podcasts, I ended up getting into cryptocurrencies, which was a mistake. I made a lot of money, but then I lost a lot of money. So I probably ended up 2 years of my life, net zero money saved, which was a bit hard. So after that, I was screw this. I'm not saving any money anymore. I'm going to go adventure. I'm going to go live on boats in Spain. So I did that for a year. So I couldn't really save any money in Bitcoin then as well, which was a shame for my Bitcoin stack, but I don't obviously regret it because it was a really cool adventure. However, after all of this, all of the money I've made and everything, I'm basically net zero after 3 years in Bitcoin. But I finally get a big job. I'm starting to work offshore in the energy industry, so oil and gas, and recently the wind. And that's when I've started to make a proper effort at saving money. So I guess my 0.5 Bitcoin's probably in the past 2 or 3 years of saving a significant portion of what I'm making.
I know you've been public about this online. I'm curious if you've been public about this with, like, friends or family,
Mhm.
and, like, the people who know you in your real life, if they know this about you, what do they think about this thing you've done?
Okay, so yeah, my friends, I've always been the crazy guy about Bitcoin because during the like COVID times when I was talking to my friends, I was completely infatuated by it. I was telling them like, "Oh, that this is a crazy world we live in. The fiat standard is a stupid experiment that's like going wrong, and we all need to get out now." I think I've slightly matured from that. I'm more see it like as the best way to save money. That's where I'm at. Um, so yes, my friends definitely. I don't know if I've ever even told them. The only people I've ever told about how much Bitcoin I have is like 200,000 people on Twitter, which is a bit crazy. I don't know. I'm just nervous to talk about that sort of stuff with them. When I was delivering Chinese, I made them all buy cryptocurrencies basically, and I lost everyone's money. So I don't think my reputation's hasn't quite recovered from that. But yes, my friends are coming around to it because what I try to do is talk about the fundamentals, and yeah, then they give me some time of day. But I'm still a bit of like a wacky conspiracy theorist to them, I think.
Yeah, I think most people who are in the world of crypto are probably seen like that by most people still. One day it'll change, but we still got some years ahead of us, I think. So, what was it? You talk about, the fundamentals and reading and kind of being obsessed with Bitcoin. What was it about Bitcoin? Like, why? What was a switch that was flipped in your head that you said, you went from not caring about it to like, I've got to like accumulate some of this.
So I think it was learning about inflation. I never really understood inflation. I just kind of like I was aware that like the prices of houses rise as time goes on. Um, that was about the amount of knowledge I had on inflation. And then once I started to learn about like how the price of everything goes up over time, and that sort of didn't make any sense to me. So I kind of wanted to understand why that was. And then I learned that it was to do with many things, but one being the increasing supply of available cash. So yeah, I think that it kind of just felt like I was being everyone. I felt like everyone was being robbed a little bit, um, and it kind of answered the question of like, why are people so nervous about money and worried about their future and things like this? And yeah, I think it was basically learning about like that seashell. I think it's a story about seashells in the Bitcoin standard, where basically an island uses seashells as currency, and then a foreign like people come in on ships and start to use other seashells that were from different islands and destroy the island's own economy. So that kind of just felt like we were doing that on a mass scale with every human's money, and it just doesn't really feel like it makes any sense to me. So yeah, I think it was learning about inflation that kind of that was what's like made me continue to walk down the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think, once people dismiss inflation, they hear about it and it's under control and it's at 2 or 3%, it's right in our targets, and people don't really process what inflation means or what it does, and they certainly don't zoom out and look at, our different fiat currencies and their buying power over, the decades and how it's just diminishing it more and more, and they don't realize they're being silently robbed, which I think is a good way you put it. But what was it so a lot of people, though, who do discover that, who live in the traditional finance world, they say, "Okay, Bitcoin we're being our money's being eroded by inflation. I need to save and invest my money. I need to grow my money." So they go with, in the case of, US, typically, it's the S&P 500 index fund, something like that. What about Bitcoin said, "I'm not gonna" maybe you're doing that too, but, like, what made you say, "This is a really important paradigm shift, and I wanna put my money towards this to solve this problem with the economy at a global scale that I'm seeing?"
Yeah, I think I wanted I didn't just want an answer to the question of like how do we solve this problem with the system that we're using right now. I wanted the answer. I wanted to know like it didn't feel right that the answer to all of our savings being inflated away would be to use something that's like within their own system itself. I feel like you needed something else to come in and like act as an opponent to the way things are going. So I think for me, that answer was Bitcoin. And I think once I started to learn about it in first principles, like talking about like energy consumption, like how basically I see like money as it in some respect as a way of storing your energy that you've spent. So for example, if you put enough energy like to deliver a few Chinese foods, this is what you get in return. It's kind of an energy that you can spend in other places. Bitcoin just seemed like the right way to save my energy over time, and not like gambling. It sort of felt like with the S&P 500 or like investing in stocks and stuff like that. Just the fact that the way Bitcoin gets its value is from scarcity, like using actual energy. It feels like an answer that's outside of the system currently.
Yeah, that's a cool way of viewing it. So now as you've hit half a Bitcoin, like is it over? Is the journey done? Like, would you have a bigger goal? Like, what is your end goal with Bitcoin accumulation?
Well, yes, I obviously want more Bitcoin. Bitcoin is great to have, but that's not why I'm into Bitcoin. I'm into Bitcoin for the freedom, for the process of being able to save my time and energy into the future. And I'm happy that Bitcoin is where I'm able to do that. And yes, so my goal for Bitcoin and my Bitcoin goal are two different things. Obviously, over the coming years, I'd like to be in a position where like I don't have to worry about my next paycheck. That's something that would be really cool, because I can, instead of being forced into a career that just earns a good amount of money and allows me to save, I can now like work on something that's, progressing humanity or shining a light on something that like truly makes a difference. So like, for example, during the past couple of years, I've been like funding a documentary about these guys who kayaked from Dublin to Istanbul. It's like one first time story. It's really cool. And that's something I'm really passionate about. And like, if I was able to like self-fund this documentary and like make a real difference in the world, that would be really, really cool. And I think Bitcoin giving me that security that I have some of my energy stored that I can spend in the future, nice and safe. No one can take that away from me. I think that just gives me the confidence to like go and chase proper dreams,
Yeah, that's super cool. So tell me about this documentary. Like, where are you at in like making it? When is it coming out anytime soon? What's it called?
So the documentary is going to be called Project Dublin to Istanbul. It's about these three like 20-something-year-old kayakers. Well, they're everyday normal guys who decided that they wanted to like have this epic adventure and something to tell their grandkids about. So they wanted to be the first people to kayak from Dublin to Istanbul. They made it to Istanbul, and like over the past years and stuff, me and my housemate Dan, who's a cameraman, have been flying in and out of Europe and different cities to go and meet them and film. So it's currently in the post-production stage. We've got all the footage, and yes, it's like at the minute we're looking for a sale basically to like get to finish the post-production. I would assume it will be finished this year though.
Well, that's super cool. I am excited to check that out. That's rad. So back to accumulating this amount of Bitcoin at your age. Do you? I
Yes.
mean, have you like thought about that? Do you think this is a big deal? Like that you've got half a Bitcoin at age 23, or is this like no big deal? Like, how do you view this?
Well, yeah, okay, half a Bitcoin at 23, it does kind of feel surreal. It does definitely feel surreal. Like, I remember when I initially got into Bitcoin, I was like, oh, imagine if I can just get to 1 Bitcoin. And that was like, the price was way, way cheaper than it is now. And now I'm halfway there. And, it was a moment that I felt really proud of myself. It's like having the conviction to actually do it, following through with the promises that I made myself in previous years. Yeah, it is a difficult thing to do. And a lot of people my age, definitely in the UK, still aren't thinking about saving money. They're thinking about like they've just finished university. They're thinking about what job should I get. So yeah, I do feel very grateful to be this far along in my savings journey for sure.
I think it's a huge deal. When I was older than you, 29 years old, I was almost six figures in debt, bad debt, like credit card debt. Had no savings. I had no investments. So I started my financial journey at age 30, climbing out of that hole. So anytime I meet somebody who, is at a place that's better financially at a younger age, I'm just like, I gotta whatever you're doing, we got to share it with other people so they can like wake up. Because most people who people who are twice your age don't have that much saved, and it's really sad that a lot of people just aren't financially aware or haven't woken up and don't understand the significance and importance of doing that as early as you possibly can. What if you could invest in Bitcoin or precious metals or 90 other digital assets? Let them grow and then potentially never pay taxes on those gains again. Well, that's the power of a crypto IRA. And I personally use iTrustCapital. They let you hold real crypto inside of a traditional Roth or SEP IRA with no monthly fees and just a simple 1% trading fee. And now they've added USDC. You can hold dollar-denominated value inside your IRA or premium custody account and then earn rewards. Currently 2% with rewards that accrue daily and compound monthly. So whether you're going risk on or preserving capital during volatility, you have options. And if you're serious about long-term crypto wealth, well then check out the link below to learn more about iTrustCapital. So, okay, half a Bitcoin at 23, that's awesome. But even today, after we were at $126,000 Bitcoin. Today we're at $69,000 Bitcoin. We had a 50% correction, but even so, nearly $70,000 Bitcoin is expensive. Like half a Bitcoin, 35 grand is expensive. Just go out and buy. And some people watching this might think it's very prohibitive. Like I can't do that. So I would love it if you could break down like how you did it. Over the what are the things you did to actually stack that much, and go through some of those steps.
I would suggest that it's important not to look at the destination where I am now, because it wasn't it wasn't like an overnight thing. I didn't just like one day have 0 Bitcoin and the next day have half a Bitcoin. It was a process of continual sacrifice. Like I did have to sacrifice a lot of my salary in cash, where I could have just went out and partied or bought a new car. Like I've been driving the same car since I was 17 and it's like falling apart, but I love it. And it's exciting to me that, just like owning a used car, not getting into debt, like that's another really important thing. I definitely don't get into debt. And I think it's just, it's important to think about your life on a longer term horizon. And it's like, if I can sacrifice this little bit every single month, it's going to end up helping me out in the long run. Like I wouldn't suggest like getting into 35 grand of credit card debt to buy half a Bitcoin, although like that might end up working out. it would put that amount of risk I definitely wouldn't take. So I would suggest, the way I've done it is slow buys. If I have a lot of cash, then I buy some more. If I don't have a lot of cash, then I just buy a little bit. It's ended up working out in the long run.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to that was not handed their money, that actually went out there and earned it. It involves sacrifice. That's like the theme. It's like you have to sacrifice something in order to do these things. But it sounds like, just hearing your story so far, you're working on this documentary, you're doing these adventures, you were sailing around doing all kinds of fun stuff. You're like hanging out on windmills and stuff right now. Like it sounds like you're sacrificing, but at the same time you're still like living life. And it's not, some people equate sacrifice with like, I have to have a boring life, I can't do anything fun, I can't, whatever. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you view that? And like, what is sacrifice to you in this context, and how are you still having fun, and what are you giving up?
So, I think in order to continually stack the way I have sacrificed, maybe not as much as the everyday person who isn't earning as much money as I am with the offshore stuff. I think the main way I'm sacrificing to gain Bitcoin is with my time. So the way I work is I work 4 weeks on, and then I get 4 weeks at home. So for 6 months of my year, every year for the past 3 years, I've been at work for 12 hours a day. So that's the sacrifice that I'm putting in order to have the capital, in order to live the life that I am living. So I'm grateful for that. I wouldn't suggest that for everyone, and I guess that's the way I've kind of fast tracked my way in order to, gain the amount of Bitcoin that I have. But you can sacrifice in different ways. I wouldn't suggest just like having a life that you hate. No amount of Bitcoin is worth living a life that you hate. So you should definitely see the everyday little things that you can enjoy without spending cash, like the weather or the walking, or I don't know. Yeah, but there's joy in life without spending money, I think, is the main takeaway.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. So what do you do on these these offshore wind turbines? What are you doing for the
Yeah,
job?
so I started that about 6 months ago. Basically, I'm part of a team that's pulling the cables into the wind turbines. So I will like live on a boat for 12 hours while I'm like sleeping, and then wake up for 12 hours, be transferred onto the bottom part of a wind turbine out in the ocean. And then I'll be part of like a 5-man team who's using different lifting devices to pull a cable from another boat into the wind turbine.
So if somebody's listening to this and they I want to go buy some Bitcoin, what are your favorite places that you found to actually go buy Bitcoin?
I'd say I'm a bit of a noob with this. I don't think I buy it in the best places, to be honest. I think I use crypto.com. It's what I used when I got into the space, and like the fees aren't great. And I probably am losing a little bit more than I should. I don't withdraw all my Bitcoin as soon as I buy it. Kind of like make it to a small goal withdraw, make it to a small goal withdraw to kind of avoid the fees. But I know I probably could find a better place, but it's difficult to buy Bitcoin in the UK still. Like my bank stops me transferring fiat. I have to like use different bank accounts in order to get onto an on ramp, and it's not great, to be honest.
Yes, more proof that we still have a ways to go before we're like full mainstream.
Yes, yeah.
When you are buying, you talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but I'd like you to go into more detail. What's your buying strategy? Is it dollar cost averaging? Is it lump sum? So whenever you feel like buying, how do you do it?
I think it's more. It's dependent on my lifestyle. If I go like a few months where I don't have a lot of cash, I'm definitely not going to be buying a lot of Bitcoin. I'm not like a slave to my DCA. I'm not like I can't if I don't have the money to make my DCA. I don't do it. And if I have loads of cash lying around that I can afford to spend a little bit more money and splurge out on Bitcoin, I will do it. And yes, I don't know. I think I'm too afraid to try and time the market and like wait for good prices and things like that. It's just kind of dependent on my own lifestyle. If I've got cash, I buy Bitcoin. If I don't have cash, I don't buy Bitcoin.
So it sounds like you fall into the whenever you feel like buying category, which
Yeah.
there's no, I'm a big believer that there's no real wrong way as long as you're accumulating. So you do you. I like that.
Yeah.
You already mentioned the Bitcoin Standard. Are there any other books you recommend, or are there any videos or other resources out there about Bitcoin that you like and recommend?
I think I would only ever recommend the Bitcoin Standard to anyone. It's the thing that like flipped the switch in my mind. And I think that's important, because I basically went from no understanding of anything to do with the monetary system to like full blown. I love Bitcoin, and this is where I want to keep my money. So I think that's what I would suggest. Just read the Bitcoin Standard if you haven't read the Bitcoin Standard, and after that, you can find your own way, I think.
Here at the very end, for anybody who's watching, especially for someone who's maybe about your age, maybe a little bit younger, but somewhere around there, who has not been this serious about accumulating Bitcoin, but they've kind of had it in the back of their mind, and they're getting more and more convinced that they want to do this, and they want to kind of go off on their own journey like you've done. What advice or what would you say to that person?
I'd say it's very clear. We can all see that the system that we're using for money on a worldwide scale isn't working, and learning about how Bitcoin works and why it's the best, that's the best thing you can do. Um, yeah, I think trying to orange pill all your friends isn't a great way to give yourself confidence. I think keeping your stack to yourself is good, because then you can, when you get to a specific goal, be proud of yourself, and you don't have to listen to the everyday nags like, oh, I heard all your Bitcoin went down 50% over the past couple of weeks. Um, yeah, I think the best thing you can do is just buy Bitcoin when you have the cash. At least that's what's worked for me. And yeah, show the people who don't think that it's a good idea the difference in your lifestyles over the years to come.
What do you say to the person who listened to this and they're still thinking, it's cool that Sam did this, but I don't think I can do this?
I think anyone who puts their mind to it can do what I've done. It does require sacrifice, but you should do it. It's very fulfilling, and it does open up many more avenues than you think. It's not just cash that you can use to buy things. It's the freedom to, not be dependent on other people and how they want to treat you and where they want to push you in your careers and things like that.
And opens up weird doors you didn't even know existed, because if you hadn't gone on this journey, if you hadn't posted publicly that you hit this milestone, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that's pretty rad.
Bitcoin is a weird thing. It isn't just a way to save money. It's definitely got something strange to it.
Yes, love it. Well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I love the story so far. I'm going to keep paying attention to where you go in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
And if you need more proof that this is possible, you should watch this video where I chat with Lindsay Stamp, who has managed to stack 1 full Bitcoin. And we go into when she buys, how she buys, where she buys, but also how she got to that amount, all the things she did, the steps she took. So definitely check that out. Goodbye.